Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another manga recommendation video. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe for regular uploads. Without further ado, let's get started. First up we have The World After the Fall. Faced with imminent defeat and certain death, would you choose to run or continue to fight for a doomed world? When mysterious towers appear across the world, summoning monsters that prey on mankind. On the brink of death, they can choose to use a regression stone to return to the past for a second chance, although this decision places them in a separate timeline forever. Stubborn tower walker Yehwan rejects this choice and chooses to fight for the original timeline, learning shocking secrets about the tower along the way. If you enjoy reading omniscient reader viewpoint, then you're in for a treat. This manhwa is made by the same author. Although things may get confusing in the beginning, just keep reading. Everything will be explained as you read along. Overall, this is a must-read. Moving on, we have Ottoman. Suya is a gloomy salaryman whose days are spent chasing after work deadlines, all while still keeping his dream of becoming a manga artist. To him, his only support in life is none other than his beloved wife, Yuka. One day, on his way back home, he was suddenly caught in an accident, and before he knew it, an alien had taken hold of his body. Not only that, the evil threat of another alien is closing in on Yuka too. Here comes Suya, in his superpowered husband form, as he jumps in to save his dearest wife. Have a taste of his love for his wife and this world. This is an extraordinary manga, with remarkable fight scenes, a sympathetic main character. And, don't get me started on his wife. I mean, just look at her. Moving on, we have To Not Die. Daejin is bullied every single day at school. Desperate, he believes that taking his own life will end his torment, but soon realizes it's not him who deserves to die. It's all the scumbags in this world, and when an incident with his bullies forces him to have to fend for himself on the streets, Daejin sets out for revenge. To do so, he'll need to become strong, but he quickly learns that school bullies aren't his greatest enemy. He now got bigger fish to fry. And as shown on screen, it has solid artwork with stunning fight scenes. I would rate it 7 out of 10 overall. It's a pretty solid manhwa. Sorry for my poor explanation. Moving on, we have Book Eater. Theodore Miller knows everything about magic, except how to use it. Just as he's about to flunk out of Bergen Academy, Theo chances upon a grimoire named Gluttony that manifests as a magic-hungry creature on his hand. The more magical texts and artifacts Gluttony consumes, the more powerful Theo becomes, quickly making him the Academy's star student. Sure, he now lives under the constant threat of being eaten by an insatiable parasite, but Theo is finally on his way to becoming a real wizard. The art style is very complimentary and suits the emotions that are meant to be portrayed. This was a blast to read, with a likable MC and pretty good action scenes. I highly recommend giving this a read. Next up, the return of the disaster class hero. Humans call them calamities, the unknown, destructive creatures that suddenly appeared on Earth. To challenge these calamities, the zodiac gods awakened 12 humans known as saints. But there was one additionally that awoke, unchosen but the greatest hero of all, Jian Li. His allies betrayed him and left him for dead, but now, 20 years later, he's more powerful than ever and ready to teach his fellow saints a lesson they'll never forget. To be honest, it depends on how many manhwas you have read up until this point. Those manga experts out there will find this manga pretty common. Simply put, it's a revenge story with an overpowered MC, in a modern setting with dungeons and monsters. Overall, the art quality is the same as Solo Leveling and the build-up is there. Undoubtedly a god-tier manhwa for beginners if you enjoyed Solo Leveling. Moving on, we have Zombie Fight. As life gets harder, Ian pushes his emotions away and resists. His father's violence and debts increase. The misfortune continued, and his body became increasingly numb. Accidentally, he walks through an illegal fight and receives an offer. If you get in the game, I will give you all the money on this floor. His survival period begins, where he must survive in an illegal fighting arena. This is not your generic manhwa with level systems. This was a very refreshing premise with a roller coaster of emotions. With fantastic storytelling, action-packed, and a very fascinating protagonist. The artwork is not that great, compared to the other manhwas mentioned in this video, not that I can do any better, and I'm sure you can't either, so give it a few chapters and see if it's to your liking. Next up, we have History of Three Kingdoms. The Three Kingdoms, the era where heroes flocked together to defeat the world. The best armed follicles got lost in history due to a momentary mistake. Based on my understanding, follicles here is referring to Yopo Bongxian, the protagonist of this story and his comrades. So in Yopo Bongxian's last moments of life, he said something along the line of, "Give me one more chance, I promise I'll defeat the world." When he opened his eyes, he was in his 20s. He went back in time, with his tumultuous spirit beginning to unfold. It is a historical manhwa, similar to Kingdom, with extraordinary fight scenes and great character development. Our protagonist consistently develops through experience during his journey, and he gets to know the information he couldn't grasp in his previous life. Moving on, we have the Lone Necromancer. Seong-woo is a former Special Forces soldier who has returned to college after completing his national service. His ordinary life as a student is shattered during class one day when he and his fellow students are faced with a mysterious prompt asking them to select a role. Seong-woo chooses the Necromancer, a rare ability that grants him the power to control the undead. With the campus and outside world seemingly on the brink of collapse, Seong-woo must use his newfound powers to battle fearsome monsters and help save his fellow students. But will they make it out alive? The thing I love the most about this manhwa is our main character, Seong-woo. Unlike a few manhwas with a system that is just totally unfair, this manhwa is one of the few which get this system aspect right. Our MC was not given any head start over the others. He had to use his brain at the right time to get the best outcomes for himself. Overall, the story has decent pacing, and the art is decent, not amazing, just decent. Anyway, I highly recommend that you read this one. Moving on, we have Reaper of the Drifting Moon. This manhwa revolves around Pyo Wok, which means drifting moon, who roams the land before he met an unknown person and was placed into seclusion. After some time, he was allowed to get outside his room, and he finds out that there were many other people placed in a similar situation as him. The dude who kidnapped them wants to make them into ruthless assassins and can be discarded anytime after they have lived up to their effectiveness. I love smart characters, and our MC is just that, and ruthless at the same time. I'm sure you can find other manhwas similar to this one. Heavenly Demon Reborn, for example. But the execution of this manhwa is awesome, so I had to put it on this list. And finally, we have Valhalion the Black Iron. When he woke up, Sumatetsu Jiru, a samurai from Kamakura, who had survived the Mongolian invasion, found himself in an unfamiliar place. He was told by Rist, the girl who brought him there, that they were in Valhalla, a place where the souls of dead warriors congregate. For him to be revived, Tetsujiru now has no choice but to fight against the dead warriors from different periods in this mythical place of carnage that he's been thrown into. This is the beginning of a samurai drama, where one has to fight and strike down their enemies even if it kills them. This manga is a masterpiece with endearing characters. The artwork will leave you thunderstruck, and the details that the author can draw are astonishing. The only downside is that the fight scenes can be a little hard on the eyes, but other than that, it's a solid manga. I highly recommend reading it.